Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. And this one's going to be a little bit different because I am starting a brand new series. And I think this series could be something pretty special. It's very personal. You're going to learn things about me. And what it is one of my longest term viewers is Tom Weary. I hope you don't mind me mentioning your name, Tom. You'll see him. He pretty much watches every video and comments. He is just a super special guy. Very generous. He has actually sent me CDs to turn me on to bands that I knew of but didn't know that much of, Golden Earring and others, and really supportive of my channel. Just a great guy. He's also really humble because, I talk about, my whole videos are about my physical collection, about 6,000 albums that I know really, really well. And to me, that's a pretty impressive number, but it's really not for somebody like Tom, because his collection is probably like 10 times that. And he's just really humble about it. So just a great guy. Anyway, Tom has sent suggestions, and he sent a suggestion: do a series of the first albums you ever got by bands that you love. How did you get into these artists, and what albums did you get initially? And that's it seems so obvious, but it's like a genius concept. So thank you so much, Tom. I really, really appreciate it. And the really cool thing, if you know my channel, is my database. I know exactly when I got every single album starting from 1973 when I was 10 years old, which is when I started my database by typing up lists. So I could go into my database and sort by when I purchased the albums, and I know exactly the order of the albums I got. So it's really tailor-made for my channel. And hopefully you will enjoy this series. Now I got to start with my favorite band of all time, the Rolling Stones. So here's the story. My sister is 4 years older than me. I was really blessed because she was really cool, still is cool, and had great taste in music. So when I was a kid, and I'm talking 6, 7, 8 years old, I was only exposed to this great music playing in my house all the time because we had a relatively small house and her room was right next to mine. And we always shared albums. So my albums were my albums, her albums were her albums, but we could just play them, whenever we felt like it. So she was the Stones is her favorite band. She had that classic poster with Mick Taylor being introduced to the band on her wall. And her first Stones album was Sticky Fingers. So therefore, my first Stones album was Sticky Fingers. She got it in 1971. And, an original pressing. So I grew up, now I was born in 63, so in 71 I was 8 years old. I grew up listening to Sticky Fingers all the time and knew every song inside out, actually dubbed it onto 8-track. Same story the following year in 1972, she got Hot Rocks, which to me is still the greatest entry point for the Stones. If you don't know the Stones, you want to get into the Stones, you got to start with Hot Rocks. It's perfect, even though it ends in 71 with Brown Sugar and Wild Horses from Sticky Fingers. Still is the best, entry point for the Stones. So for me, having Hot Rocks and Sticky Fingers in 71 and 72, that was the perfect entry point for me at the age of 8 and 9 years old. And when I mean I was a fan, I was a fan. I still have the clippings. Here was an ad about how they made Sticky Fingers. This was the company that actually designed it, and they did a full-page ad in Rolling Stone magazine. And like I told you, my archives are insane. Here's an original ad from London Records promoting Hot Rocks. This is from 1972. So, yeah, you're going to be like, yeah, you were 9, 8, 9, 10 years old. You were just a kid. I was ahead of my time because of my sister. I knew this stuff inside and out. And another ad, the roots of the Rolling Stones on London Records. So even then, I was reading and studying Cream and Circus, and my sister got Rolling Stone magazine, and I would take the ads and keep them. And, the older people knew me in the neighborhood as this little kid who knew music. Plus, I played the drums. Here's a 70, more Hot Rocks came next. So, again, I started with Sticky Fingers and Hot Rocks and knew those albums inside out. Then we get to 1973, and again, I had these on 8 tracks because my sister had the vinyl. Now it's time for me to get into the physical collecting when I was 10 years old. And my first Rolling Stones record is this very record. It actually has a number because I used to number my 45s. So this was my 38th 45, and it was my first Rolling Stones one, Angie, which backed with Silver Train. This is the actual 45 from 1973 when it first came out. And that was my very first Rolling Stones record, quickly followed by the album, which of course was Goat's Head Soup, which I'm wearing the shirt, as you can clearly see. Goat's Head Soup, I've done videos on it because I still... It's Sticky Fingers and Goat's Head Soup are my 2 most played albums by anybody. I still play Goat's Head Soup a couple times a year, and I never tire of it. This is the first pressing. I got it the week it came out, and this was the original, Goat's Head Soup print that came with the album. Yeah, it's got all those holes because I had it on my wall, along with millions of posters. I should have pictures. So I've gotten multiple versions ever since, and here's cleaner copies of the Goat's Head Soup. But this is the very first edition. I got it the week it came out of Goat's Head Soup. And that was my very first Rolling Stones album that I got when it first came out. Now, David, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I don't want these things to fall. And that would suck. So hopefully this thing won't fall. But let's see what happens. So Goat's Head Soup, my very first Stones album that I got when it first came out. That was in 73. I also got, the next album that I got that came out, that I got was Get Your Yayas Out. So Get Your Yayas Out was the second Stones album that I ever got when it first, well, it didn't come out. That was also in 73. Obviously, the Get Your Yayas Out came out in 70. So that was the next Stones album that I got following Goat's Head Soup and Sticky Fingers and Hot Rocks. After that, we get into 1974, and I got It's Only Rock and Roll, also the week that it came out. Thanks to my mom. I used to beg her to take me because I was 11 years old. She knew I was the real deal, and this is the first pressing of It's Only Rock and Roll. So that was the next Stones album I got when it first came out in 74. Interestingly enough, the next one I got was Got Live If You Want It. One of my least favorite Stones albums, but, good to have in the collection, of course. Not the most listenable Stones record. That was the next one I got. So that's number 6. And then we get into the next album I got, which was in 1975, and that was Let It Bleed. Of course, Let It Bleed came out in 69. That was the next Stones album I got, which was followed by Metamorphosis, which came out in 1975. These are all first pressings. In fact, this album originally came with an ad that you can cut it out and mail in money, $5.30, and you can get a Metamorphosis shirt, which I did not do, and I regret it. I love Metamorphosis. And that I got in 75, as well as the collection that came out at that time, Made in the Shade, because that was the first time I saw the Rolling Stones in 1975. My sister took me to see them. I was 12 years old. And I had mentioned to you guys that, I was a 12-year-old seeing the Stones, but I knew all their songs, pretty much all their songs by that point, or a lot of their songs. And this is my concert booklet, and I saw them June 26th in 1975 at Madison Square Garden. There was the button that the radio station WPLJ gave us, and that was the set list. My first concert that my sister took me to see. The Rolling Stones. Doesn't get any better than that at Madison Square Garden. And then in 1975, I also ended the year by getting 12 by 5, which I mentioned is a pretty special album for me, and that's the reason why, because I got it really early. So there you have my first 10 Rolling Stones albums by the end of 1975 when I was 10 years old. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Stones albums by the end of 1975 when I was 12 years old and I had seen them in concert. Pretty cool, right? Now, I have, as of today, 440 Rolling Stones albums. And people are like, well, how do you have so many Stones albums? And obviously, I got tons of bootlegs and imports. But the Stones are pretty much the only band that I do keep multiple versions. And these albums tend to be the ones that I have the most copies of. So, for curiosity's sake, if you want to know, I have right now 7 different versions of Sticky Fingers. Now we're talking different pressings on CD and vinyl, so no more than one of particular pressing. So Sticky Fingers has 7. And Goat's Head Soup, I have 7 different versions as well, including that mega box set that is right over there. So those are the 2 albums that I have the most copies of. Goat's Head Soup, Sticky Fingers both have 7. Hot Rocks I have 3. I'm looking at a cheat sheet. Get Your Eyes I have 4, including the deluxe box. It's Only Rock and Roll I have 4. Got Live If You Want It I only have 3. Let It Bleed I have 4. Metamorphosis I have 3. 12 by 5 I have 3. So gives you an idea what makes up my 440 albums that I own by the Rolling Stones. Some other clippings you might like to see. When Goat's Head Soup came out, and the Angie was the single which hit number 1, and Goat's Head Soup hit number 1, the big thing was this, Stones on the Tube. And that says, it's the coup of the decade. Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones kick off Don Kirshner's rock concert, a new television series produced by Don Kirshner. In association with Viacom, the Stones performed selections from their new album, Goat's Head Soup, Doobie Brothers Special Attraction. And this is a full-page ad that I kept from back in the day when the Stones were on Don Kirshner's. Of course, they did Angie twice, 2 completely different versions. And they did Dancing with Mr. D, and they did Silver Train. And it's in one of the box sets, but I've had it on bootleg as well. Mick was kind of glammed out. This was the full-page ad of Goat's Head Soup, and a little damaged, but I've had it since 1973. And at the bottom it says, watch the Rolling Stones perform Angie, Silver Train, and Dancing with Mr. D on Don Kirshner's rock concert during the week of September 27 through October 6. See local listings. So if you want to see right there. So yeah, I've told you guys, I have like massive archives, especially Rolling Stones archives. As a full-page ad for Metamorphosis. I know that's kind of not an official Stones album, although it's become one. But I love Metamorphosis. That's an album that I still listen to a couple times a year. Here was a King Biscuit special on the Stones announcing their 75 tour. That was the eagle, was the logo, and I have the original poster framed over there, but I can't take it off the wall because it's drilled into the wall. It's been in a poster frame ever since. There's a full-page ad for 75 at the Gator Bowl, and another ad just announcing the whole Tour of the Americas 75. Again, I saw the June 26th show at MSG. They played 6 nights, which at that time was, a monstrous amount. I don't think anybody had done that many at that time. And then here's another ad with the eagle and Made in the Shade with the tour dates. So I thought you might get a kick out of that. And one other thing I'll show you is this ad that I had framed. This is an original Sticky Fingers ad from 1971, and that is autographed by Mick Taylor. I had seen Mick Taylor at a club and brought some cool stuff, and he signed a bunch of stuff, and he was like, wow, I can't believe you had this stuff for all these decades. I get that from a lot of these, when I get the chance to meet a rock star at a concert I go to, and I bring this stuff, and they're always like, wow, I can't believe you have this, and they're always really nice to sign it because they're amazed. They know I'm a real fan, so it was pretty cool. Mick Taylor has signed a bunch of stuff, and I met Ronnie Wood also. He signed a bunch of stuff too. So that's about it. There's my history of the Rolling Stones, courtesy introduced by my sister, 4 years older. Again, she had Sticky Fingers, Hot Rocks, and if you remember the original Hot Rocks, it came with this. 211 Reasons Why the Rolling Stones is the World's Greatest Rock and Roll Band. I did copy it on 8-track, but then, you know, a couple of years later, I wound up buying my own hard copy of Sticky Fingers and Hot Rocks. But this was a cool ad that came with the copy that came in the early versions of Hot Rocks that I had and my sister had. So pretty cool. It showed you all the songs. So I guess they had 211 songs back in 1972 when Hot Rocks came out. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is going to be an ongoing series where I'm going to show you this for bands when I got into them, and I'll tell you stories of how I got into them. Maybe they were an opening act, driving to Woolworth on my bicycle, going through cutout bins. I have some interesting stories that I think you will hopefully find interesting and learn more about me as well. So Tom, thank you for this amazing idea. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope my other viewers enjoyed this video. It's good to get to know us on a personal basis. As always, it's about my physical collection. You know I'm the real deal. I've been doing this since 1973 when I was 10 years old. So that's about it. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Check out my other videos, and this will be a new playlist which is going to be called My First Blank Albums, meaning my first, and I'll fill in the band. Should be kind of fun. Thanks so much. If you're in the United States, hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. It's back to work tomorrow, and more videos to come as always. Have a great night. See you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.